Hello, welcome back to the channel. No hat today, see that? It's very cloudy out. There's a bit of weather moving in. This is being filmed on a Tuesday. You'll probably watch this on Wednesday. It's supposed to rain all day Wednesday, so it's a perfect day for editing. So what am I doing, you might ask, once again? Well, today, if you couldn't tell by the title, I'm going to start talking about laying out the rose garden and planning it out. I have 5 rose bushes that I'd like to get into the ground this year. Now, I don't think I'm going to have the whole rose garden laid out this year for various different reasons. One of them being cost. I plan on using a material, I believe it's called Edgerite. Hold on. Let's just verify that. No, yes, no, here it is. Yes, Edgerite. So Edgerite is a steel edging, and the reason I'd like to use this in the rose garden is for a couple of different reasons. 1, weed control. 2, grass control. 3, I want to raise the ground up a little bit because the other day we had a good rainstorm here and a majority of the space was somewhat flooded. And again, this is partially because of the heavy clay soil. It doesn't have time to absorb the water. Now, when I lived in New York, on Long Island is basically a giant sandbar. And I had maybe 2-3 inches of topsoil, and after that it was all sand. So when it rained, the rain went through the topsoil, into the sand, percolated right down to the water table below. Wonderful. Here, it's a very heavy clay soil. The water hits it, and it can't percolate down fast enough. Thus, we get some minor flooding. When I mean minor flooding, I'm only talking, worst I've ever seen is maybe an inch, maybe 2. But it sits on the surface for a while. Now, if I plant the roses at that surface level or on the surface, at ground level as it were, the roots are basically going to be sitting in heavy clay soil filled with a lot of moisture, which isn't necessarily good. Roses, like most plants, enjoy a free draining soil. So they get the water that they need, and whatever they don't need goes away. So again, the plan that I'm thinking is, well, speaking of plans, let me show you the plan. This is generally the layout that I'm looking at right now. And that's what I'm thinking right now. Again, everything's subject to change. If I can get the perimeter done this year, just the outlying edges, I'd be thrilled. Again, I don't know if that'll actually happen, but what I do plan on doing is at least starting the one side of up against the vegetable garden, which is basically right where you're standing or looking from. I'm standing here, you're watching from your couch or chair or car or wherever. There'll be a hedgerow. It's not going to be, I don't think I'm going to make it, I'm going to keep it about 4 to 5 foot tall. It'll act as windbreak because we do get quite a bit of wind here. It'll provide a little bit of shade in the later afternoon for the rose bushes. The sun here can be pretty intense. I don't want to kill the rose bushes with 12-14 hours of bright, super bright, direct 90-degree heat and sun. So again, probably do the 8-inch. They have an 8-inch edging. I'll sink it 2 inches into the ground. That'll leave me, I'll probably sink it 2 to 3 inches into the ground. That'll leave me 4 to 6 inches approximately as a raised bed, as it were, which I can then fill with soil and then plant the rose bushes in that. Now, the ground itself, because I have mentioned 8 billion times already, is heavy clay. I've debated about this, and if you have any better ideas, please feel free to comment below, because I'm a newbie gardener. I'm at a complete and utter loss, and I'm not sure what I'm doing here. So I'm making this up as I go along. There's 2 ways to handle this. 1, I could either rototill or dig over all the bedding that I need to do, all the dirt, and integrate a couple of tons at the minimum of compost organic matter into that, with the hopes it doesn't recompact and it doesn't But in doing that, I'm disrupting the earthworms, I'm disrupting other organic things in the ground, and apparently that's bad. So the new teaching tells us, the new science of soil. So right now I'm thinking of doing the edging, putting in probably, again, more cardboard, which will act as a grass and weed suppressant, filling then that up with compost, and then planting into that. Of course, the roots on the rose bushes I have will be deeper, maybe than the 4 to 6 inches that I have. So I will probably have to dig up some of that clay soil and again, plant somewhat into that. I'm also thinking of maybe making the rose bushes stand taller. So I would dig down to the base layer of soil, which again is the current ground, and then I could plant on that and then mound up around the rose bush. Thus, when we get those heavy, ridiculous rains, the rose bush roots aren't going to be sitting in that much wet soil for that long. Now, of course, when I do these beds, the theory is that the earthworms and also the good organic material, critters, I should say, will come eat up the cardboard, start pulling the compost down. I will have top off compost every year. Anywho, so I'm looking at doing perimeter, start planting over on this side, and again, I'll show you that in a second, the rose bushes that I have, the 5 rose bushes, and just grow from there. There'll be hedging surrounding the whole thing. There'll be hedging for the vegetable garden, also act as windbreaks. So now let me take you sort of around what I'm talking about. Okay, so now you're just standing outside of the gate to the vegetable garden on the east side of the vegetable garden. This is the section right here that I plan on putting the 5 rose bushes that I have. So I would build out my bed, space them out, boom, 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 plant them all in. I hope to have this accomplished by, at this point in time, I'm gonna hope early to mid June. Now I know it's a little dicey, but I think if we get enough rain, scattered rain, if we get a scattered rainstorm once or twice a week, that'd be lovely. And then of course, heavily mulching everything to retain that moisture. I think that the rose bushes will be fine. Rose bushes are pretty hardy. I've pretty much tortured my Mr. Lincoln rose bush from David Austin, and it seems to still be hanging in there. But I'd like them to get them into the ground this year so they get established. So they get a good root system before the winter, and then they can just keep growing next year. So you're standing at the gate, which is 30 feet from the rear of the vegetable garden, and the front of the rose garden, will be all the way over here. I do believe this is an additional, I don't know the math. I'll put the number below as to the distance this is. But basically from the very back of the rose garden of the vegetable garden to this post here is 80 feet. And you're 30 feet from the back. So, and then there's a 4-foot gate. Do the math. Again, I'll put the number there. And then we're gonna go 60 feet that way, east. So let me show you that. So if the audio hasn't failed me, basically where I'm standing now, if you can see the bamboo cane, which I'm not sure you can, but basically where I'm standing now is 60 feet. So we'll be 80 feet on one side, 60 feet on the other. Now the property has a weird angle on the backside, and we're going to discuss that in a minute. But as you can see, I still have all this debris from the trees being cut down to move. I don't know if you noticed it on the other side, I was already doing some raking. And a real quick note on that, I'm going to try to rake these into piles, and hopefully over the course of the summer, nature will do its course. It will rot down. Whatever doesn't rot, I can use to fill holes or gaps or make border edging, fill. I can use this material, is what I'm trying to say, as I stutter and putter. Of course, the sun's trying to peek out now. Let me go show you the next length. Okay, so you're basically where I just was a second ago, and now I'm standing at what may possibly be the back corner to the rose garden on the east side. This is approximately 60-ish feet. And the reason I'm doing that is because you can see I'm approaching the wood line behind me. And I don't want to run, if I ran straight from the back of the vegetable beds, well, I would be another 5 to 10 feet that way into the tree line. So I don't want to do that. The tree line is somewhat of a property line. I believe my property goes another couple of feet in there or something like that. But I want to leave this back area sort of open, have it act as an alleyway for various reasons, and that'll also allow me access to the tree branches above and any trimming I may need to do with this over time. I'm thinking maybe here-ish, maybe a little further up, roughly around 60 feet, 66 feet. This space over here is still mine. This is still my property. There's a large tree with a large crepe myrtle, and I don't know exactly what to do with the space. That will be a project for another year, but I'm already thinking maybe some sort of white garden. Somehow incorporate the tree and the wax myrtle into all of it somehow. I'm not sure. Again, that will be a project for another day. Today we're talking rose garden. So I'm standing here. So again, if now we're going that way, that would be the west side of the garden. That's 80 foot long. This side is going to be 60. Hence the reason when you saw the drawing, it was sort of trapezoidal. So now let's look back towards the vegetable garden. Okay, so behind me over here is the vegetable garden. And then, so you're still looking from the east side of the rose garden, proposed rose garden. And now we're looking sort of diagonally across towards the vegetable garden. You can see the wood chip mounds in the back, and then you can also see closer in the foreground the pile from the tree that was there. Over a period of the summer, hopefully I will clean that up. But again, starting along that fence line there, that's where I'm going to start. And I'll go from the gate up towards the front. That's going to be my general direction of movement. And again, I think from that, I'll also then work across the front. I don't plan on filling the whole rose garden with roses this year. That will be a project for over the next 5 to 10 years. Little at a time, but first you have to build the structure. So again, this year I will start working on the perimeter. I will try to get the outline done. I will then start working on the outer beds. Everything's subject to change. I had to move over to the potting bench, and I'm going to wrap this up because there's a tree trimming crew that's going to be doing work nearby very shortly, and they're going to make it a lot of racket. So if you have any suggestions, comments, thoughts, encouragements, anything like that, please leave a comment below. If you'd like to support the channel, feel free to go look at the links below. I have a little merch store on Teespring. You can get a snazzy looking t-shirt with the hand logo there. If you don't want to wear a t-shirt with the hand logo, get yourself a mug. I have a nice little mug there too that you can drink your coffee, tea, or beverage of choice out of. If you don't follow me on Instagram, give a follow on Instagram. I often post up pictures there that you won't see here on YouTube. I think that's about it for today. Any new subscribers I have, thank you very much. If you're a new subscriber, to all my subscribers, thank you. To all the new subscribers, thank you. Please tell your friends, family, loved ones, grumpy old guy across the street. I've got this wacky channel where I'm trying to build a large garden here in eastern North Carolina. And that's going to be about it for today. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.